This is Marketing Jam, a podcast featuring the brightest minds in Canadian marketing.
Welcome back to Marketing Jam. I'm Shaheed, Devji, filling in for Darian Kovacs, and I'm pleased to be joined with Swish, Swish, Goswami.
Let's just do Goswami as well, but Swish.
Okay, Swish is the best name ever. It's a nickname, but it makes sense, right?
Yep.
Like it doesn't come out of nowhere.
No, I played basketball in grade 8 for the Calgary Science School. So I was a pretty good player for the Calgary Science School. No, I wasn't. I was terrible. But I got the nickname. I continued. My full name is Squamish. Actually, not a lot of people would even know this. It's Squamish. And then people.
I did my research. I knew this.
Oh, you knew this?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Well, Swish became a nickname, and then I carried it on. But on LinkedIn in particular, I'm known as Manu. But I might change all my social media channels soon to just Swish.
Where does Manu come from?
That's another nickname that my parents gave me, though. Not society. My parents gave me that one.
Yeah. So I usually, if I don't know you well, ask you to describe yourself and your background.
Right.
But I want to do this for the audience because it's a little crazy. So how old are you? 20?
20, yeah.
20 years old. You're described as a venture capitalist in one way. You've started 6 ventures, probably that are counted right now. But, so the co-founder of Dunk, founder of Superfan, World Thinks, World Youth Fund, the next founder, Rafiki Media, Genesis, FoodShare, top 20 under 20 in Canada. You were awarded the UN Outstanding Leadership Award. And I'm sure I could keep going, right?
I appreciate you did your research.
It probably
I love that.
makes you feel a little uncomfortable, but so much to be proud of at such a young age. Did you have a childhood? Did you waste time when you were younger?
100%. I still waste time. I mean, here's the thing. I growing up, got into a very work mode at a very young age. Like when I was 12, 13, I was working, mainly because I wanted to be independent throughout. I didn't want to wait till I was 21 to be independent. I wanted to make my own money, buy my own toys, buy my own gaming systems, and that's it. You know, and so that kind of fueled a lot of things. And then I also started realizing, after debate and the success I had public speaking, and I had a speech impediment, which is still not 100% over, but I had a really, really bad lisp when I was in grade 7, and I got over it through debate. And I realized if I can get over that, there's really nothing I can't do. And that type of feeling still exists with me right now. I have a little chip on my shoulder, but more than anything, I have an empowered heart that comes with everything that I do.
If I could tie that back to marketing, and we're talking about marketing here at CIMC 2018, to me, and this I think is more true today than it ever has been, but content and the marketing, the content you use in marketing these days, it's all about what you say and not necessarily how you say it. And I mean, that can go back to your lisp and the debating, 100%. Right? It's about what you say.
And here's the thing, context is everything. I think content is great and it's king, but content that's put on the right platform for the right audience and has a good context around it, i.e. I know the person who's putting out that message, or I know why they're putting out that message because it's in a particular time, makes that content way more effective. So I 100% agree with you though, what you say is 100% more important than how you say it. It's why even when I was giving the talk today, I'm just make a simple post, for God's sake, get over the first leap. And see whether or not you have fun doing it. And if you have fun doing it, put out content that makes you happy first before trying to make some new Gary Vaynerchuk type content that's 100% edited because he has a 16-person team doing it.
I want to talk about platforms a little bit like you talked about in your talk, but before we get there, I read that you built your first business or started your own business at 7 years old. What was it? How did you come up with it?
It's called High Tech Avionics Limited. We were not incorporated.
Limited, of course.
Limited, of course. It was with my dad. He's an engineer by trade. He wanted to teach me engineering. But I fell in love with the sales and marketing side, and we built out a hovercraft together. It was more him, honestly. I did the initial sketches, and then he actually built it out. We got the materials, and I sold my first and only hovercraft for $200. And I sold it to a neighbor of mine in Singapore. And so I remember that distinctly because it was the first time my parents were like, hey, maybe engineering is not the path this kid wants to go on. And it was the first time I actually was able to prove to them that hey, look, I can actually make this happen because I was so committed. I came back from school, I wasn't even doing my homework. I was focusing on the hovercraft. And it was one hovercraft I had to focus on, but I was treating it as if I had a factory of 200 or 300 hovercrafts.
So many kids have to go through that when they're going to university and say, I want to go this way, not the way you want me to. But at 7, you started that conversation, so that probably helped you a lot.
Oh, a lot. And here's the thing too, movies had a huge impact on me. The movies I was watching were of people who were entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So I was a huge fan of a lot of Bollywood movies growing up. And so a lot of those movies were people like living an unorthodox life. They were fighting against social norms and social pressure to do things. And I wanted to be those people. And I'm like, screw it, I don't have to be 21 to do that. I can be 7 and I can go against social norms right now. Yeah. And that's what I did, especially within my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you learn from that first business experience that you might have applied and still apply to your business ventures today?
A product is great, but you honestly don't know whether or not it's a good idea or not until you go out and you get customer validation. It's the number one thing I learned. It's like the hovercraft we sold to my neighbor, but that was after we went to like 30 kids. Like I went to kids in my school, I went to kids in my brother's school who was different, he's 4.5 years older, couldn't find a single person. And then finally found a kid who was my neighbor. Out of all places was my neighbor, and he bought it. So that's the number one thing, customer validation. For everything that I work on, I think of an idea, I think about it for 2 weeks, but I spend the most time on customer validation, talking to people that I don't even know, or people who are gonna be super honest with me, or people who are in that industry who can give me qualified advice on whether it's a good idea or not, and give me context on that competitive landscape.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, you're 20, so this is probably the only way you can relate to me, or
no,
one of few
you're
ways.
young.
I've got kids, and
yeah.
If you asked me to pick my favorite kid, I would not be able to do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure any parent would be able to answer the same way.
Yeah.
You've got a bunch of ventures and businesses. Can you pick one that's been most rewarding, your favorite?
I actually have one.
Okay.
I have one. It's the World Youth Fund.
Okay.
Because it was the one time that I attached social purpose to what I was doing, and that was the most gratifying thing I think I've done in my life, is the ability not only to have a business that was operational with a team that was national and then soon became international, but a team that was able to like get revenue in and was able to kick it out to people that we had never met and whose stories made us cry or like made our hearts bleed. It just showed that empathy is the number one way to drive consumer activity, and more importantly, social purpose-driven businesses will win, especially coming up, because consumers are becoming way more informed of what they buy, and they want to buy from people that are not just simply capitalistic and thinking only for self-gains.
Yeah. So do you think it's essential to a business these days or not?
I don't think it's essential, but it's my formula to success. So I don't know if people are going to use it, but I'm going to definitely continue to use it. Even with Superfan, we're planning to do a lot of work with not only helping influencers and brands find their top fans, but we're planning to take some of that revenue and fund studies on how social media can affect mental health and bringing awareness on proper social media usage, which is ironic because I use social media a lot, but I use it reasonable now.
I asked you if you wasted time as a kid. You said you still waste time
100%,
now.
man.
How do you waste time?
Oh my God, YouTube, like every single time it catches me, man. Recommended videos, like I watch a lot of movies and I also watch a lot of TV shows when I'm like traveling. And so I always get hit up by like a Suits episode or like a promo or an interview with like my favorite movie star, and I'll watch that. Here's the thing, I don't care too much about wasting time because for me, I already know which blocks of time I need to work in. So what I do to be productive is I know that my mind is going off at a particular time during the day. And for me, that's about 8 p.m. to about 10:30. I know my mind is going off. It's maybe because I have dinner at 7, so like right after dinner I feel good, but I always block off that time just for my weekly list. So during the other parts of the day, I'm totally fine wasting time because it's not saying I do it that much, but like I know that I always have that block of time that's solely devoted for my work, and I will get things done during that time.
So you're well branded. Your brand is certainly, I guess it's refined is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Your great website, great social presence. Do you think that's something that's happened organically because of what you're doing, and it's easy to then shape the message? Or do you think that you've worked on that brand, your self-brand?
I think I worked on it. And it's constantly evolving. Like I'm adding new layers to it. I'm trying to make it more intimate. I'm trying to make it more authentic, because the key thing that I've learned is, at this point in my life, and I know it's weird saying that at 20, but at this point in my life, like I've come to a point where I just don't care what other people think about me. And it's something that...
You're lucky. You came to that point early.
Early, and I know that because my parents told me the exact same thing.
I sound like an old man, don't I?
Dude, you're young, trust me. You got the dapper suit. But anyway, but I've come to that point and it's helped me make my brand me. Like, I don't care about talking about truffle fries on stage in front of professionals now because I just want to be myself. And I think people are attracted to people who are themselves. And I like that. And so at least that's the people I'm attracted to. So I personally just continuously project that. And then for sure, like one of the things, with branding is you constantly also have to think about strategy. And I'm strategic about things that I post and things that I don't post. But at the end of the day, I'll never make a content decision like, oh, I don't want to post this because like, what if Tommy gets mad at me for this? I'm like, I don't really care. Right. Like as long as it's not offensive, I'm not harming anybody, I don't think anybody should take offense to that.
Yeah. And when it comes to business and you talk about the product and customer validation, going to market, is there, how much importance do you put on that framing and that story and that
it's
that
everything.
branding, that
it's
marketing?
Everything. I don't overdo it. I'm not like our product is like, like the Apple ads? I remember watching this YouTube video about like a McDonald's fry but done in like an Apple ad where it's like, we have the most beautiful fry, and it's like a revolving like, it's the greatest
British
video
accent,
ever, right? Yeah. But I don't overdo it. But one thing I like to do is I like to come up with a list of our key values. And I think it's actually good to even tell the team that, is to know that we have certain values that we will never compromise on. And that's something we want to not only project to our customer, I call them customers, I don't call them users. They're our customer first and foremost. And to our team, we will never compromise on that. So that's the number one thing I do. For the go-to-market strategy, there'll be like a distribution channel. We'll have a list of people we're contacting, influencers, all of that. But the sole focus of mine is just to come up with those list of values and make sure everybody believes in it.
And it'd be surprising, I bet, for many to see how many businesses don't have that really refined set of values. Right?
I was in Hootsuite yesterday, and I saw on a projector they had their lit like set of values, and I love that. Like on every projector, on every TV, their set of values are written out. And so that's the type of stuff I think is important, because it seems cliche. It doesn't seem like something that's important, but during the hard days when employees are working long days, they need to believe in something.
Absolutely.
During the long days when a client is frustrated and they want to come and they want to get their service up and running, they want to believe in something. And if you can make those set of values something that is uniformed across your client side and your internal team, it's magical.
Okay.
It's magical.
So let's talk about platforms.
Yes.
You mentioned YouTube. Who's your favorite YouTuber?
Oh man, it's hard. I think Cody Ko. He's up and coming. He's from Calgary. He went from 35,000 to 850,000 followers, and
wow.
I met him last month in LA, and he's the most humble YouTuber I've met in my life.
Okay, what does he do?
He's here's the thing. It's like kind of hard to describe, but he mainly shoots in his like house, and he shoots like a lot of roast videos of like people who are dumb on YouTube, so like the Paul brothers and stuff like that. And then he also does a lot of really cool videos on like really funny like comments. Like he gets a lot of like he calls his followers chodesters. Like he's a very he's a very vulgar guy that way, but he loves the comments. And,
There's
like,
a place for that on YouTube, right?
Yeah. He reads every comment he gets. Okay. Like he's like me on LinkedIn. I read every comment I get. He has way more followers, and he reads every comment, and he'll sometimes screenshot them and make an entire video just for the fans. Like, this is what you're talking about. I'm going to respond and react to them. Yeah. So mainly reaction videos.
Okay.
Yeah.
YouTube, Instagram, as you mentioned.
Yep.
I mean, those are popular as ever these days. Probably
more
the
than
most
ever.
popular.
Yep.
But you're a LinkedIn student editor, is that right?
Youth editor, yeah.
Youth editor.
Yeah.
Are you a student anymore?
No, I'm not.
Really?
I can't call myself a student, but I'm
so
taking a gap year.
Youth editor.
Yep.
First of all, what does that mean,
Cool.
a youth editor? But then, second part of the question is,
Mm-hmm.
Why LinkedIn if you were to pitch people right now?
Awesome, yeah. So the first part in terms of what a youth editor is, 2 years ago a woman named Maya Pope-Chappelle, who's the millennial editor at LinkedIn, reached out to me and was like, I'd love for you to bring LinkedIn onto the U of T campus and inspire students to be on it. I did that for a year. I was a campus editor. She loved my work, and she told me to get an elevated position, to be one of the 2 youth editors that would be able to manage the entire strategy on how we get young university students to be on LinkedIn, but not just for like a resume, but to actually post and share what they're doing and like the intangibles, right, which all university students can relate to. Passion, time management, like relationships, like these are the intangibles that we can relate to as well, and we can talk about it, and people even older than us can relate to it. The second part of the question on why you should be on LinkedIn, like look, if anything, it's actually more advantageous for me if you're not on LinkedIn, right? Like I just have a bigger audience, but here's the thing. The biggest thing I would say for LinkedIn is it is massively underpriced. It feels like the early days of Instagram where people don't really know what it is. And that's the beauty of it. You can come on the platform and do whatever you want and build whatever brand you want, and people will naturally adapt to it as long as it's authentic, it's informative, and you're resourceful. Like you're actively helping people and you're viewing those 5-minute calls with people, not as a 5-minute call, but a chance to be able to convert someone into a lifetime follower. That's what I talk about a lot, right? I don't underestimate those 5-minute calls. I built a community from the ground up, just by talking to people and showing them that there was a person on the other side of that profile, which a lot of people don't do.
Yeah, and that goes back to the businesses with social purpose.
Yep.
This is kind of a social platform with a purpose-driven
with a
goal in
purpose-driven,
mind, right?
exactly. And so I think a lot of people should be on it. At least try it out. If you're writing on Medium, if you have a blog, take some of those articles and share them on LinkedIn, right? What's the harm of doing that? Maybe you get a couple of extra views, right? But
Yeah,
there's
and it's
no
come
real
a long
harm.
way, right, in terms of showing that content and making it relevant. So that's good. Okay, so that's a good pitch for LinkedIn. I like it.
I was not paid to say that.
So let's finish up by talking about sort of what you see your future looking like.
Sure.
I mean, you say at this point in your life, but there's more left to go.
Hopefully, knock on wood.
Far, right? Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah.
So what are your goals? I mean, you've achieved so much. What's left for you to achieve?
A lot. I definitely want to be able to work on Superfan and eventually sell it. That's a dream. I do believe in the business. I do believe in what we're doing.
And explain a little bit about what Superfan is.
Sure, we're helping brands and influencers find their top fans. So we go through your Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, and we'll analyze that data and show you who your influential and passionate fans are. So you can directly reach out to them and you can reward them, or you can take that data and retarget them using Facebook and Instagram ads. So that's the crux of it. I love the idea because I have wanted to be famous and be an influencer for my whole life, ever since I was a young kid watching the Bollywood movies and Bollywood stars. And so I want to be able to move down that path. And so that's where I see if we sell the company, hopefully, or if we do well in the business, I eventually want to pivot into the entertainment industry. Okay. Jon Stewart, John Oliver, Colbert, these are like my heroes growing up. I want to do satirical.
Trevor Daly?
Yes, Trevor Noah. Trevor Daly. That would be cool though. No.
Hockey player.
Oh, cool. But I would love to do like satirical political commentary, like a talk show, because my long-term goal is to run for office in Canada. So to come back to Canada and be a politician is like the long-term goal. I might change, you never know. 20-year-old people, when they say their goals, it's like weird. You'll be like, I want to be a bartender. And it's like, shit, I ended up being an actor. So you never know. Yeah.
That was my last question here. Is on your website, so you're aware that it's there and you just reference it, politics.
Right. Yeah.
One of the CBC dragons said he can see you as a future prime minister of the country. Is that the lofty goal? Is that the
It's the lofty goal, and I know it's weird saying that, but I also don't know, like the thing about me is I'm driven by purpose, right? So if I don't feel like I have something to contribute, I wouldn't run for office. But if I do feel like there's something missing and there's something that I can contribute, policy, a type of leadership, for sure, I'm gonna put my name in because I'm not afraid of losing. And even if I lose, it'll be like a freaking amazing story to tell my kids that I ran for prime minister one day and could be cool.
And is that the way you have to go about it now? I mean, we look down south and we see who the president is and how he got there. I mean, do you have to kind of go the influencer fame route now?
No, 100% no. And that's why I'm not even graduated. Like a lot of people would say you need a college degree to be a politician. I'm going to change that. When I run for office, I'm going to tell people that when over 30% of Canadians don't get a college degree, how dare somebody say that a person without a college degree can't be a politician and represent those people? So 100%. I don't think there's one approach to it. I would say the more unconventional you can be today, the better off you are.
Okay. Lastly, what do you think in your mind right now is the biggest issue in Canada facing
the biggest issue in Canada?
Yeah. Are you thinking about that right now already?
I am. I'm thinking two things. One is very practical. The other is a joke. One is definitely the tax on small businesses. I think a lot of dragons on Dragon's Den, not including me, sorry. A lot of people and dragons on Dragon's Den have come out and talked about the tax rate being way too high. You're penalizing entrepreneurs and you're not letting them grow their businesses, especially in an infant position. So definitely needs to be lowered. That's my view on it. But on a joking level, I think Canada, we need to start asserting ourselves a bit more. Like I look at Americans and I find that they're more patriotic than we are. Like they love their country, and I don't think Canadians love their country, but we don't talk about the beauty of Canada and what we have here. Like there were people in down south in LA when I was there before. They were like, "Why do you want to move back to Canada? Like what tech entrepreneurship scene is there?" I'm like, Shopify, Hootsuite. Like we need to start talking about these companies and rallying around the entrepreneurs that we have here and making them feel not only proud to be Canadian, but proud to be on the world stage.
Maybe you're the guy to do it.
Hopefully.
All right, well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.